Hey there, y'all. Good morning to everyone. We're going to be tracking some storms here for y'all this morning. So Meteorologist Kristin Walla here, joining y'all from our digital center. We've had a handful of severe thunderstorms throughout the morning. Thankfully, though, none of this right now is severe. However, we are still going to keep track of it for y'all. So let's go ahead and jump into what we're dealing with right now. So cloudy with some thunderstorms here around the Corpus Christi area. It's been pretty cloudy essentially the entire morning. So like I said, we had some severe thunderstorms earlier today. Those have mainly been to our north, to our west, to our south. None here so far in Corpus Christi, though we did see a little bit of rain earlier this morning. You can still see we've got a handful of lightning strikes around the area, so still hearing thunder at this point and a little bit of lightning as well as some light rain. So if you are on your way out the door, just keep that in mind. You're probably going to want an umbrella for at least the earlier half of today. Elsewhere, there's a big cluster of storms to our west and southwest in Duval County. You can see some of it has kind of fizzled out and now it's in two main thunderstorm clusters. So I'm going to pause the radar so we can see it a little bit better. Lots of lightning and heavy rain over by Falfurrias. Again, none of this is severe warned, but I'm going to pull up my hail tracker and see if there's any hail being detected. Yeah, there is. So I'm going to zoom in down here and we can get a radar estimate. Again, this isn't going to be an official severe warning or report. This is just the radar saying, hey, here's what I think is going on. So that biggest hail size would be 1 inch, which is severe criteria, but is that actually making it to the ground? Probably not. So that's why it's not severe warned. So here's some other little areas that I'm clicking on. You can see a little bit of hail, lots of heavy rain, all of that going on with this storm here. So lots of lightning again. I'll zoom wrong way, zoom back out. So you should expect that. I'm gonna do a little trick here and we can see just how quick it's moving. So I'm gonna back the radar up about an hour and y'all just bear with me here. This is real high-tech stuff. So I'm gonna mark kind of where the storm was. Okay, the part that I'm actually looking at was around here. And we're gonna move it back to where it is now. And then I'm gonna measure that distance. So I'd say it's moving, we'll call it 30 miles an hour, kind of to the east. So then I can track that out for y'all based on the speed that we just found. So I'm gonna zoom in. Again, a lot of lightning and heavy rain, a lot of lightning, heavy rain. And we'll pull my tracker out here and kind of to the east. So I'll only go out about an hour with this. So I'll move this out of the way. There we go. So here pretty soon in the next 5 minutes or so, you can expect that over Falfurrias. And then to Rivera around 11 o'clock. So that's moving again, roughly 30 miles an hour, give or take. I haven't seen or heard a severe warning go out for this yet. That could be coming once it gets a little bit more in the Corpus Christi Weather Service jurisdiction, if you will. It's currently more so in the Brownsville jurisdiction, if we want to call it that. So then let's pop back to the coastal Bend view. Elsewhere, let's see. We've got one other storm. Oh, my radar has a mind of its own. Bear with it. There we go. So elsewhere, we've got this one storm to the south of Freer, and I'm going to reduce the time on this just to the last hour, so it's not coming from off screen. A lot of talking to myself today. All right, so you can see, I don't think we had any hail popping up on the hail tracker with that one. No, just with the one down towards Falfurrias. So again, a little bit of heavy rain, not quite as bulky or beefy of a storm as the one down towards Falfurrias, but still something to watch out for if you are, heading out on the roads right now. And then towards the northern part of the coastal bend, my mouse is not wanting to move. Whenever we have the radar open for a long time, it kind of starts lagging because it's so much data. So that's what's going on here, why it's moving really slow when I try to move it. So we had a severe storm earlier this morning when we were on First Edition go through George West and Beeville. So that probably used up a lot of the energy in the atmosphere. So that's why I'm not really seeing, or why we don't see any really big storms up there right now. That's not to say that they can't happen once the atmosphere kind of gets a little oomph back to it, you know, the sunshine above the clouds. But for now, not really seeing anything significant up there in the northern half of the coastal bend other than a little bit of lightning and some light rain. The main activity is going on down between Halbernville and Falfurrias. As for the rest of South Texas, we're going to continue to watch the entire, essentially, southern part of the state around the Rio Grande Valley, particularly over by Laredo right now. That's where it looks like a lot of the storms are coming from currently, and those would likely end up, again, my poor radar system is lagging behind. It's been overworked this morning. So I'm going to draw this arrow here. You can kind of see if they continue on this northeasterly path, it'll end up probably going through Live Oak, B County, maybe the edge of northern Duval County, just kind of depending on where specifically this way. If it'll go, there we go. Specifically where they are right here, where I'm attempting to move this arrow. Depending on where they are there, move it over to the northeast, and that's essentially where it would end up. So we're going to keep tracking that for you. I'll be here through the early afternoon, and the meteorologist Carly Smith will come in for the evening newscast, and she'll be able to get y'all up to date on that. So I mentioned the energy in the atmosphere whenever it comes to up by Live Oak County, B County, and that the storms that went through there, they were severe warned for 1 to 1.25 inch hail, not necessarily for wind. There was only, I believe, one storm this morning that was severe warned for wind, which was to our south. Everything else here in the coastal bend was warned for hail, about 1 inch or so. And I talked about the energy. So this crazy thing that you see here, I'm going to pop this on full screen so you can see it a little better, is called an atmospheric sounding, or a SCUT graph, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different names and there's a lot of information. So this is what we get when the meteorologists at the Weather Service launch their weather balloon, and they do that twice a day at 0Z and at 12Z. So right now with daylight saving time, that is 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. respectively. So this is the picture we get, and it measures all kinds of cool stuff like temperature, dew point, wind speed. So that's what you're seeing here where I zoomed in. So the storms this morning, they had to overcome what we call a slight cap, and I'll get to what that means here in just a second. But what I want to point out first is I keep mentioning the energy in the atmosphere. So here's the visualization of that energy. It's called CAPE. It's called Convective Available Potential Energy, or I like saying CAPE because it's like a superhero. So basically this is an integral, yes, calculus, of the energy in the atmosphere. So the red line to the right of that little dashed line that's kind of curved, that's your temperature line. And then the dashed line that I mentioned is an air parcel. So if it were to get shoved up into the atmosphere based on the temperature and the moisture content of the atmosphere, that is the path that a air parcel would take. So we're getting into a lot of meteorology theory here, but all that to explain that the bigger this area is here that the arrow is pointing to, more energy, which means more ability for storms to form. So I mentioned the cap. That is here. And you can see it, it's essentially where the little red line is moving from left to right, or essentially the temperature is increasing with height in the atmosphere. We call that a temperature inversion. And what this does, you can kind of think of it like putting a lid on a boiling pot of water. So this cap limits all of that steam, or your clouds and your thermals, or basically that rising air, from going up into the atmosphere. The cap acts like that lid on a pot of boiling water. And whenever you have your air parcel or your storm that's able to kind of punch through that cap, or in some way is lifted above it, maybe with a front, that's when we start to tap into all that energy up above. And that's when we can start to see hail like this. So thank you to Vicki Mormon from De Niro sending this picture to us this morning. You can see a lot of hail fell there, and I believe the Weather Service issued a storm report based off of this image that we were able to send to them. So that's always a good thing. Y'all can send us your photos, whether it's email or commenting on Facebook, sending it through Messenger, all those kinds of things. They're great ways for us to report back to the Weather Service so they can kind of validate their own watches and warnings and all their weather forecasting. So in terms of rain, we definitely need it. Here's a current look at our drought monitor. This was updated yesterday. I posted it to my social media, and you can see that abnormally dry conditions are covering a good chunk of the coastal bend now. There are some places that aren't quite in the abnormally dry areas, but it's trending that way. So this was expanded a little bit compared to last week's. And in terms of the watershed, it's better than it was, you know, towards the beginning of the year. However, there still are some locations to the west of San Antonio that still have the severe, if not extreme, drought in our watershed. So right now, here's a look at the watershed levels. I pulled these numbers yesterday and I double checked them again this morning, and they hadn't been updated yet. So these are yesterday's numbers. Choke Canyon at 22.8%, Lake Corpus Christi at 38.9%, and that for a combined total of 27.3%. So we're still in stage 2 drought restrictions. That means watering every other week, which I believe this past week was a watering week. So if your trash day is today, you got one last chance to water your yard. But next week is a non-watering week. So that's the stage 2. Stage 3 would begin whenever we hit 20%, or if the city manager decides before then. In terms of changes, we're down a little over 1% for the combined level over the last month, and then down a whopping 16.5% over the last year. We did get some water in the watershed today, some rainfall, so I've got those combined lake levels there again. And you can see, unfortunately, the top half of the watershed where that severe and extreme drought are did not really cash in on much rain today. These are rain totals from midnight through 9 a.m. So there has been a little bit more, especially once you get to the bottom part of the screen down towards Duval County and Jim Wells County, but not focused on that. We're focused on the watershed here. So there have been some places that have seen a radar estimated 2, 3, 4 inches of rain. So any of these that don't say EST behind them, those are actual reported rainfall totals. So the ones that have the EST, again, take it with a grain of salt, but that is where some of the heaviest rain fell. So that's definitely a good thing that we're getting water in the watershed, and it also helps to cool off our temperatures, which is going to be a very nice thing once we get into this week, later this weekend and into next week. As for rainfall, here is what the coverage is going to be looking like for the rest of the day, pretty much scattered around lunchtime. So that's going to be our highest rainfall chances is essentially now all the way through about noon, 1 o'clock or so. Then heading into this afternoon, I'll show you Futurecast here in just a minute. You're going to see that coverage trend downwards. We're still going to carry a chance for an isolated shower or storm into later this afternoon and this evening. However, I do think that the rain chances are going to go down heading into this evening, and then we clear out overnight tonight. So scattered storms for the first part of today, more isolated in nature heading into this afternoon, but generally clearing up as we head further into today. And like I said, the clouds, the rain chances, the northerly winds, by the way, we had a little cold front actually make it through the coastal bend, so that was nice. That has all contributed to cooler high temperatures compared to yesterday. So if we do continue to see a lot of rain and really thick cloud cover, we may not hit that forecasted high temperature. Yesterday, I believe we hit 88, so I did bring us a little bit below that. Here's a check of Futurecast that I promised you. This is the updated version from this morning. You can see that it's got the rain going across the radar still within the next half hour. Pretty widespread coverage, pretty scattered coverage. And then heading into 3 o'clock, a lot less activity. Heading into this afternoon though, later this evening, if you do have any baseball games, playoffs going on around the coastal bend, you can see 7 o'clock if you've got a first pitch around then, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. there's still the chance that a storm could pop up and move in from the west. However, you can see that most places are staying dry heading into this evening. So after about 10, 11, midnight, somewhere in that range, we're going to start to clear out in terms of rain, not clouds. Those are going to come back, unfortunately. But temperatures tomorrow morning, very similar to this morning. So low 70s, upper 60s, not feeling too bad if you're running in beach to bay. As for tomorrow afternoon, a lot more sunshine and much warmer temperatures. So we have slightly drier air that moved in behind that front. That means not only more sunshine, but also the ability for the air to warm up a lot quicker. So that's why we're going to see that big temperature jump, about 5 degrees from this afternoon to tomorrow afternoon. That being said, you got to factor in the humidity. Even though it will be a little drier, it's still going to feel hotter than it actually is. So if you're running in beach to bay, here's that relay forecast starting off in the 70s tomorrow morning. And about the time the race is wrapping up, 90 degrees at 1 o'clock. So make sure you're staying hydrated. Feels like temperatures are going to be in the triple digits tomorrow. So it's going to be very, very toasty. And you can see once we get past this weekend, temperatures are pretty consistently in the low to mid 90s. Not only that, we're going to be challenging a couple record high temperatures this week, and there's also a few more than this that are within 3 degrees of the record high. So these are just the ones that are within a degree or so. You can also see those feels like temperatures. We're really going to get toasty heading into Monday, Tuesday, and further into next week. So we're probably going to see the heat advisories come back, unfortunately. That happens once we have a feels like temperature of 110 for at least 2 hours, whether that's observed or forecasted, and it's likely to get there, unfortunately. So it's going to be very hot, very humid heading into next week. The reason that we're going to see the humidity come back, here's what we've got going on today and into tomorrow, that front push through, but you can see it's stationary. It's not really going to be doing much until Sunday morning. It retreats northward as a warm front, and then it's going to join up with another low pressure system. Unfortunately, the cold front that comes with that system, I don't think we're going to see. However, we have high pressure building in overhead, which means it's easier for us to warm up. We get a lot of sunshine and more clear skies, but we also have high pressure to our east. That controls our wind direction, and that's what's going to send all the humidity back here into the coastal bend, along with that warm front moving in. So here's the cold front I talked about with that low pressure system moving in Tuesday into the northern part of Texas and the Panhandle. Wednesday, it's a slow mover, and then it just drags across the state. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be seeing this, so I'm sorry, but I wouldn't hold your breath for any cooler weather, and it's just going to continually stay pretty hot and humid. Highs today with the rainfall, I'll go back to the radar here in just a second. In the 80s, you can see I've got Corpus Christi at 88. That is hoping for a little bit of clearer weather heading into this afternoon, trying to account for that. If we don't get clearer in terms of rain or thick cloud cover, we'll probably end up in the mid to possibly even lower 80s. So right now, our temperatures are, if I can find my graphic, temperatures right here. It may still have the front drawn on it from this morning, so just ignore where it is. I didn't get a chance to update that. If it'll load, here we go. And our temperatures are missing, cool. Anyways, so it says that we're in about the 70s right now. So if that does continue, then I would expect the lower 80s for the afternoon high temperatures. For this weekend, a lot more sunshine, so it's a lot easier to forecast those temperatures. Lower 90s. I have a hard time talking at this point in the morning when I've been up really late, when I have been up since really early. A lot of sunshine again. You can see those southerly winds returning heading into this weekend. So I'll actually do the 7-day now, and then we can go back to the radar. So you can see very, very consistent weather, just hot, even more humid as we go along. You can see kind of the progression of the little color bar for the feels like temperatures, how it goes from 103 to 110 with very minimal change in the air temperature. It's thanks to all the humidity coming back. So I mentioned earlier, this week is a watering week, next week is not. So hopefully we get more rain back into the watershed. So speaking of which, I will circle back to the radar. That's the phrase I was looking for earlier. All right. So I'm going to leave this play for a sec while I look at comments and see if anybody had any questions. Hello, I have returned. So some people are asking about if the storm near Kingsville, so I assume it's I don't want to hear myself. I have Facebook Live right here so I can make sure that the audio is working, and I started hearing myself, and that's a no-go. Anyways, so the storm near Kingsville and Falfurrias, you can see that's still the biggest one on the radar right now. There is that storm up towards Freer to the east of them, as well as, I'll zoom out real quick just so we can get a quick mention of the rest of the coastal bend, then I'll focus back in on the other one. So a lot lighter activity, pretty much north of, if you would draw a line from Corpus Christi to Alice, pretty much north of that, just shower activity, a couple lightning strikes, nothing crazy going on there. Again, we talked about it earlier, a lot of the energy in the atmosphere was used up from storms earlier this morning. Surprisingly though, towards Freer and down by Falfurrias and Hebronville, I wouldn't say surprisingly towards Falfurrias, but towards Freer we already had, some storms go through there, and it doesn't look like they used up all of the energy, so those storms are still able to be going, but like we've talked about, they're not quite as strong as the one down towards Falfurrias. So focus back on that. Again, my radar is lagging so bad, but it's easier to just bite the bullet and be patient rather than wait for the entire radar to reload. So that's what we're dealing with. So we're gonna go over to the hail tracker, which surprisingly is working faster than the radar. That's kind of sad. Normally this one is very finicky. So I'm gonna zoom way into here. So we can see by Falfurrias, again, we talked about this earlier, these are going to be radar estimated. It's not a guarantee that if you are in this location, you're going to see hail this size, but got to click on the darkest color. 1 inch hail basically. So that would be severe criteria. Anything really above this kind of, let me see, do I have a pointer? Yes, I do. So anything above like this middle darkish blue color, I don't really know what color you want to call that, we'll say cerulean, that sounds nice. So anything above that color would be severe criteria. So to see kind of this hail core right here, you definitely want to have your car under cover if you can. You want to be away from windows, and see the latest scan right here just kind of decrease that hail size right in front of our eyes, so that's always fun. That happened on First Edition this morning. We started talking about storms, and all of a sudden a little severe warning popped up behind me, and I just had to assume it was for hail because there was a lot of reflectivity on radar. So I'm going to swap back to the actual radar color, this one. I have a bunch of presets on the side by my radar, so that's what I'm looking for. And the radar is lagging again. Okay, so I think we can all see there's a lot of lightning with this storm. So this is not one that you really want to be outside in. I'm sure people who are driving on Highway 281 down towards Falfurrias, yeah, they're probably in a lot of weather, essentially, to put it lightly. But hopefully you're not on your phone while you're driving. Not good. So I think the last time that we tracked this out at the beginning of the Facebook Live, it was moving a little bit more easterly. Now you can kind of see almost, I'm trying to pause this, there we go. Almost since about right here, it's kind of taken almost a northeastward turn. So I don't know what the lightning is doing there. There we go. So it's, instead of continuing more eastward, now it's kind of going like this. So I will track that out here. We'll do our little trick again. 39. So what I'm doing here, if you weren't on the Facebook Live earlier, I'm not crazy. I'm trying to time out how far this storm has come. And I want this. And also my radar is lagging because I've been using it for so long. So that's about where the storm was. And now it is kind of over here. So in the last hour, it's moving a little bit quicker now than it did earlier. Earlier we were tracking it more so to the east at 30 miles an hour. Now it's moving a little bit more, I wouldn't say due northeast, but maybe east-northeast at 35 miles per hour. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull my computer froze. Well, this is nice. There we go. I'm gonna pop that in at 35 miles per hour, and I'll zoom in so I can draw it a little bit better. So I wouldn't say that it's going to, like the whole storm just go directly across Kingsville. This is how we got started on this storm again anyways. But I am gonna draw it out here. Just from this little part right here, I'm not including the stuff on the other side of Rivera, just for y'all to note. So if we kind of do it more at an east-northeast over about the next hour, here are the times that it will get there. Hopefully y'all can see that. I'm looking at my monitor to make sure that it's all on the screen. I think it's all on there. Okay. So let's take a look at these times together. So to Rivera here in about the next 9-10 minutes, we could see this front edge of the storm. Where's my pointer? I don't use the pointer very often, so I never remember where it is. So this edge kind of right here, where the tracker starts to the Rivera area in about the next 10 minutes or so. To, I believe, Clayburgh County. I think that's our computer's shorthand way, of saying the Clayburgh County Airport right here, the little blue dot. Into Kingsville, so right around here, I would say probably this section of the storm will kind of ride up right there. About 11 o'clock, so in the next 20 minutes or so. And then after that, up to Bishop, about 10-15 minutes after that. So I'm gonna check comments one more time, and then if there's not really any more, then I'll let you go. So Philip asked, have there been any hook formations associated with this? I haven't seen any. We haven't had any tornado warnings or anything like that. There have been none of those. So I have also not seen any hook formations. I've been monitoring our weather service chat, the NWS chat is what that's called, where we can communicate with them directly, and they haven't been talking about anything like that. They were saying, I'm reading it real quick. Yeah, so the only thing that they're talking about is what I was saying earlier, the hail near Falfurrias in southern Jim Wells County. So they're saying hail about ½ an inch. So that would be, my computer, there we go. So hail around ½ an inch. I'll pull my hail tracker back up. Yeah, So that message was sent about 5 minutes ago. I need to close that. No. Okay. So you can see, yeah, at best the what is it called? Hail tracker is indicating maybe up to an inch of hail, but more likely half an inch, exactly like they were saying. So it was a little bit bigger earlier. Zoom back out. Oh no. Oh, there we go. Okay. I thought sometimes the hail tracker likes to stop working, and I thought that's what happened, but it was just out of the screen. So you can see that at some points it was estimating pretty decent size hail just outside of our viewing area. Personally, I'm not sure why this wasn't warned for a severe warning at that point, but now the hail would appear to be much, much smaller from the hail tracker. Again, estimating about a half inch, which is about half the size of a quarter. Whenever we say quarter-inch hail, that's that big or so. That's about an inch hail. We always try to relate the size and say ping pong ball, quarter size, penny size, stuff like that. So about half the size of a quarter, so penny to dime size hail with this one. Still very noisy in terms of lightning and thunder. And any more comments? Locally in Corpus Christi, somebody had asked that. My radar is taking its sweet time to do what I'm asking it to. Let's see. So the tracker should still be pulled out to the correct time. Apologies. I was getting shown some really cool pictures of clouds, and I had to look because I'm obsessed with clouds. So that was my boss showing me some cool pictures of clouds to the north of here. He said between here and Victoria, it kind of looked, he described it as like, it looked like a mountain. So, and totally right. They were really cool looking, very dark and kind of flat on the bottom, and then kind of like this on the top. So it genuinely looked like a mountain, but somebody had commented, you know, let us know if there's any tornado warnings. I will definitely let you know, but there are none right now. There's absolutely no warnings out for us at this time. So back to the asking about Corpus. Let's pull this. There we go. Okay, so tracking this in the correct direction. Play, please. There we go. Okay. I am just going to redraw it because the storm has moved since then. Okay. And again, I'm tracking this from about Rivera, Kingsville, so about 77 to the west. I'm not tracking the stuff out in front of it because it's attached to the storm, but it's not the main storm. So moving kind of in this east-northeast direction. I'll actually include this bit up here to the south of Alice, just so I can kind of get it to extend over to Corpus Christi to kind of see what that could look like. So over the next hour, again, I don't really like drawing these out past an hour because if you go 2 hours out from now, there's, you know, not really a guarantee that there would be a storm anymore, and some people will get mad because I promised them a storm. But here's what it looks like right now within the next hour, getting to Rivera here in the next minute or two, to Bishop in the next 10-20 minutes, Driscoll a little bit after that, and Petronilla around 11:30. So I would say, again, if it holds together, which I think it will, because we haven't really seen any big storms go through Corpus Christi this morning. I would say between 11:30, 11:45, and I'm just going to give that window because as we've seen, since I tracked this storm at the beginning of Facebook Live and within the last 5-10 minutes, it did speed up a little bit. So if it speeds up, it'll be closer to 11:30. If it slows down, it could be closer to 11:45. So I'm going to clear the tracker off of here and give it a little loop and try to zoom it out. Question mark. There we go. So right now what I'm looking for and looking at is to see, is the essentially red-orange color as well as the lightning on the radar, is that becoming less? So what that would tell me, if it is, means that the storm would be weakening. But to me, I think this is pretty consistent to when it was over Falfurrias, so, or to the northwest of Falfurrias. So I don't necessarily think that this storm is weakening to the point that I would say it's not going to come to Corpus Christi. I think it will make it into the Corpus Christi area. Back to the comments. Somebody asked about Beeville. Not really the main action right now up in Beeville. It's more so the light rain, couple lightning strikes. You can see them just kind of around the area, but it's not like what's going on to our south where it's the main big storm. And then over towards Freer, this is kind of cool. You can kind of see this line of rain on 59 between Laredo and Freer. It's kind of just going right along the highway. That's pretty neat. So, geez. This radar is very, very lagging. Okay. So, again, not really comparable to what's going on to our south. However, there is a decent bit of some heavy rain in the very northeast corner of Duval County. A little bit of lightning, and I think that about covers it. I'll check comments one more time. Somebody said that they have pea-sized hail in Falfurrias. Here we go. So I'll do one last look at this storm, and then I will head out and just continue to monitor this offline. So that's a little bit bigger now on the hail tracker compared to a couple minutes ago. So again, another indication along with the continued amount of lightning and the continued like red and orange, the higher decibels on the radar, the continuing bigger hail here, especially. Can we stop? Thank you. Okay. So you can see how on the other side of Falfurrias, when it had a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain, big hail. Big, meaning 1 inch. And then when we looked at it again, it was a little bit less on the other side of Falfurrias. And then now it's back up again. So that's why I think that this storm is going to hold together for the most part. That, along with the fact that there really hasn't been much severe activity in the Corpus Christi area. Most of it was to, again, our north, our west, and our south this morning. So if you wanted a visual on that, you can go to some of the previous posts here on the station Facebook page as well as on mine. I update that one a little more frequently. And you could see where all of those severe warnings were. So there's still a lot of that energy here in Corpus Christi. Again, this whole thing that we talked about, I'll go full screen. Did I go? Yep, there we go. Okay, so the energy there, the Cape, what we're talking about, a lot of that is still going to be intact for us here in Corpus Christi. Somebody asked, any hail for Alice? I'm going to say no, just based off of the radar right now without even going to the hail tracker, just because there's really only a light reflectivity, or just the light green color on the radar. So you would really need kind of the, I would say orange at the least, the orange color on the radar, if not kind of the red and purple for any hail. So I would say no to hail in Alice right now. Maybe a little strike of lightning just to your east, but that's essentially all that's going on right now. I appreciate y'all taking the time to sit here with me for the last, how long have I been on here? 45 minutes, so thank y'all. Again, I'm gonna continue to monitor this offline. I'll post any updates if needed. Any severe warnings, I will definitely let y'all know. If you enjoyed watching this, anything like that, you can scan this QR code and download our app, as well as subscribe to our YouTube and our Facebook channels. So y'all have a good day, stay safe, and stay dry.